Morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching this video. This is Doug from the second time around. And in my first introduction video, I told you I was basically going to be talking about my watch collection and the adventures and journeys that I've been through, and maybe some helpful tips on how you can, buy a watch at a better price. Just to start with that, here in the United States, we used to barter for everything, trade, sell, buy. But bartering kind of went out of style. And, if you walk into a car lot, you're not going to just, they say 34,000, you're just not going to pay 34,000. You're going to start bartering with them. Well, it's the same thing in the pre-owned watch world. From my very first watch until now, they have given me their price, they being the shop or the private seller, and I've countered. And usually I've found almost 90% of the time that they will come back and either accept my offer or they'll counter with a lower one. And that's fine. You have to make the decision, how much do you want to spend on a watch? So today, wrist check, I'm wearing my very first Rolex I ever bought. It's the Yachtmaster. Absolutely love it. And I think originally it was up there in the $18,000 range when it was new. And the shop that I got it from, the store, they wanted, I think, originally 15,000. And I countered and ended up getting it for 11. And that's just the way it is. I had one shop that I really wanted to watch that originally went for, again, I think about between 18 to 20,000, and it was pre-owned in beautiful condition. It was the Omega 50th anniversary, the 11th Apollo. It was a Speedmaster Professional, and it was gold, 18 karat gold, a lot of it in there. And when they offered it to me, they wanted 14,000. Well, I had noticed on their website that it had been sitting there for a long time. And if you hear any howling in the background, that's my German Shepherd, that's Hank. He hears a fire truck going by somewhere, so he starts howling. But anyways, long story short, I think I countered with 8,000 because the watch had been sitting there for months and wasn't moving. They came down to 11,000, and I said, no, thank you. Didn't respond. Another month went by, and next thing I know, I'm picking up the watch for 8,000. So you don't always have to go with what they want. Again, they're trying to make money, but you're also trying to save money as a consumer. And if you buy a lot of watches, you want to save as much money as you can. Now, just recently, I had started buying gold coins, about 3-4 years ago. And every couple of months I'd go buy more 1-ounce gold coins, or I was actually buying a lot of Mexican gold coins in the smaller denominations. And at that time, gold was selling between 2,000 to 2,200 an ounce. Well, as of this morning, gold went over $3,700 an ounce. So I've made quite the profit. Well, a couple weeks ago, I went to a local shop where I had bought a couple of Rolexes and an Omega, and the shop always treated me well. I went to this one person, and she's a sweetheart, and I was giving her my business, and she's working on commission, and there was a watch that I wanted to buy, and I'm trying to remember, I think I offered him 4-ounce or 4 gold coins. And at that time, gold spot price was selling for $3,400 an ounce. They came back with offering me only $3,000 an ounce. And I told them that's ridiculous. First of all, this is kind of a trade. It's not really... They were screwing me. And I told them no. They'd have to come up to at least $3,300 an ounce. And then all of a sudden she came back. She went into the back and told them how much I wanted. And she came back and said, "Oh, by the way, you're going to have to really think about this because somebody called this morning and they want the watch." Well, I had noticed that the watch had been sitting there on their website for at least a month. And suddenly, the morning that I walk in, they someone calls. So I said, "No." I said, "Think about it." She said she would call me the next day, and of course she didn't. So 2 days went by, and I called her, and I basically said, "Hey, I noticed the watch is still on the website. I guess that person who made the phone call didn't want it." And I said, "So to think about $3,300 an ounce, because again, gold had just gone up that day." And she came back on the phone and said, "Well, we'll give you $3,300 an ounce." And I said, "No, thank you." The watch is still sitting there. So they tried screwing me and they tried playing the game, the pressure game, and I just didn't go for it. Well, last week, one of my better shops that I go to quite a bit, I think I've bought like maybe 10 watches from them. They had one watch. And when I originally approached them about taking gold in exchange instead of cash, they said, "No, we don't do gold." I was like, "Okay." Well, while I was there picking up an Omega James Bond, I heard them talking, saying that they had a customer offering gold and they would go ahead and accept it. And I called them on it. I said, "Hey, hold it. You just told me a couple months ago you weren't accepting gold." And they said, "Well, we now have a jeweler who actually knows about coins and gold." And so I said, "Well, you've got another watch. You've got a Grand Seiko Green Birch. And so I'll pay cash for this Omega. But will you take gold in exchange for the Green Birch?" And they said, "Absolutely." I asked them how much. They said they were paying 97% of spot. That's fair. So I ran back home, grabbed a couple of gold coins, went back in. And not only did I trade the gold coins for the watch, but I got an extra $850 back. Well, gold's still rising. And yesterday I noticed that they had a Chopard, a beautiful one, an Alpine Eagle, extra large. And I called them up and I said, "What's my price?" Because again, I always negotiate. They dropped the price by $300. I went in and again paid with gold coins and got $850 back. So I made money. I got my watch and I still made money because again, when I was buying gold, I was buying at 2,000 to 2,200, whether it was American Eagles, Cougarons, Canadian Maples. And so actually I made money and got cash back. So again, you don't have to pay full price. And even on Chrono 24, I'll suggest a price and they can counter. If they don't counter, then okay. I mean, I just picked up my 80th watch. I don't need every single watch. And I just hope this helps. Just don't give in to the pressure when they start using their sales games. They try. I know they need to make a living, but just don't bullshit a bullshitter. So, anyways, folks, one of my adventures in horology. Folks, you take care of yourselves.